right? They both are there to testify to prove the claims of the other. So quite the lawsuit, to say the least. But I got to give you some updates. Well, Markey's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, he told NBC News, quote, "It gives us no joy or pleasure in filing this suit against Christian Combs, who has clearly adopted his father's pattern and practice of depravity." While her other attorney, Rodney S. Diggs, also told NBC, quote, "I am here to fight for those who can't fight for themselves, and I applaud Grace for being so brave to come forward with her truth." However, Aaron Dyer, an attorney for Christian entity, said in a statement that the lawsuit from Grace O'Markey was, quote, "another lewd and meritless claim from Tyrone Blackburn." Quote, "This complaint is filled with the same kind of manufactured lies and irrelevant facts we've come to expect from Blackburn. We will be filing a motion to dismiss this outrageous claim." Now, motion to dismiss is when you say the plaintiff has not stated an actual claim, the court doesn't have jurisdiction, or there's some other problem with the actual pleadings. That's how you get rid of it at the outset. Now, I had mentioned in a previous sidebar about how Mr. Blackburn was not only criticized by opposing counsel, but even a federal judge in New York who referred to him to the grievance committee for allegedly filing lawsuits that have deficiencies, that he improperly files cases in federal court to garner media attention and to embarrass defendants with salacious details. So keeping that criticism in mind for a moment, where we're talking about, are these claims, are these allegations in these lawsuits credible? Just now, Instagram model Jade Ramey, who Rodney Jones claimed in his lawsuit was one of the people that Diddy allegedly bragged about paying to be a sex worker, she has fired back against these allegations from Rodney Jones. Through her publicist, Ramey told Entertainment Tonight in a statement, quote, "Dating someone doesn't directly correlate to any of the false allegations made. Yes, I dated someone. How unfortunate we've entered a time where caring for someone or falling in love is worthy of scrutiny in the court of public opinion. What may be amusing for you is real life for others, and my feelings have never been for entertainment, nor are they up for discussion. We need to be more conscious as a society when ridiculing people's lives and relationships merely for enjoyment. I appreciate everyone's kind messages and support during this time. Thank you." Also, Sean Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend, Young Miami, who Jones also listed as one of the people that Diddy claimed was a sex worker, denied the allegations too, writing on Instagram, "I'm not a prostitute. I never sold," and she has an emoji for, you can do the math, an emoji for her private parts. "I never sold a day in my life. I hate how the raves." There are these videos and pictures of him that have surfaced in Miami, out relaxing, holding up the peace sign. But he also just posted on Instagram the music video for his 1997 song Victory, where he runs from police. And he wrote in the caption, "Bad boy for life," followed by a raised fist emoji. There are these existing civil lawsuits that have been filed against Combs and people in his inner circle. There's amended complaints of existing lawsuits that add new defendants. And that's what we want to talk about. We have Rodney Jones, music producer known as Little Rod Jones, filed a sworn declaration with the court just this week, going into more detail about what he saw and heard. Former music producer for Sean Diddy Combs, worked on his latest album with him, suing him for sex trafficking and sexual assault and harassment. Well, they filed new court documents, and included in those documents was an unsworn declaration from Jones himself, detailing more things he saw, heard, experienced during his time working and basically living with Combs. And in this 18-page declaration, it starts with a promise that he's telling the truth. Quote, "I have personal knowledge of the facts set forth herein, which I know to be true and correct, and if called upon to testify as a witness, I could and would completely testify thereto." Now, he's declaring all of this under threat of perjury, so if he's lying, that's a big deal. Now, if you ask me, I think one of the reasons Jones is doing this is to bolster his credibility, because it's come under attack in the public. As we mentioned, some of the people that he mentioned in his lawsuit have fired back against those allegations. Opposing counsel questioned his narratives and motives. So this is an opportunity for him to tell the court, look, I have the receipts, I can back up what I'm saying, I will testify about this. So there are a lot of details that he provides, including background and how he got linked up with and started working for Diddy, and we already covered a lot of that in his complaint on previous sidebars. But according to Jones, he has hundreds of hours of video of Combs in his inner circle. He says that Combs required him to film constantly because he did not like to repeat himself. He said, quote, "I quickly learned that from observing him lose his temper with his staff and family if they failed to remember something he said a day or two prior." Jones lists out crimes that he says he saw happen in real time. Quote, "I witnessed the acquisition, use, and distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms. I witnessed Mr. Combs display and distribute unregistered illegal firearms. I witnessed Mr. Combs provide laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers at his homes in California, New York, the Virgin Islands, and Florida. I witnessed Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Coram, instruct the staff to retrieve drugs so she could provide them to Mr. Combs for his consumption." And then Jones also talks about that alleged assault that he witnessed on Combs' chartered yacht. You remember when we covered this, that Jones's attorneys had filed a separate civil action against Combs' son, Christian King Combs, on behalf of a woman named Grace O'Markey. She was a steward on the yacht. Remember, and Combs had chartered that yacht for the Christmas holiday in 2022. So according to the declaration, Jones, quote, witnessed Christian Combs drug and sexually assault a stewardess while we were on the yacht Mr. Combs rented in St. Bartholomew, St. Martin, and the Virgin Islands. The assault began in the makeshift studio on the yacht while I was recording Christian Combs' auto-tunes rapping. Again, we talk more in depth about that lawsuit in another sidebar episode. O'Markey claims that Christian gave her a spiked drink, touched her all over her body without her permission, and tried to force her to perform oral sex on him, and she had to actually fight him off. Now, the next part of this declaration from Mr. Jones is absolutely fascinating. It reads, quote, I have videos of Mr. Combs and me working out on the treadmill with T.D. Jakes playing on the monitor. We watch T.D. Jakes' sermons every morning during our workouts. At first, I thought it was admirable that Mr. Combs listened to sermons while working out, until I realized he was not studying the message, he was studying the messenger's mannerisms. During our gym sessions, he detailed how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Venture's pending lawsuit. Remember, Ventura had filed a lawsuit against Combs back in 2023 for sexual assault and sex trafficking, but she ended up settling with Combs the day after it was filed. So Jones also goes into detail about what he said happened at this so-called writers' camp at Chalice Recording Studios. You may recall that in his lawsuit, he claims he witnessed a shooting there and that Combs allegedly tried to cover up his involvement. He writes, quote, Mr. Combs converted the parking lot of Chalice Recording Studios into a makeshift nightclub. He had everything imagined, everyone working on the Love album to take laced shots of De Leon tequila. There was no way to tell him no. Mr. Combs felt anyone who refused to drink with him was suspicious and untrustworthy. At the time, I did not realize that he used the laced shots of alcohol to obtain and maintain control over the person consuming the alcohol. And of course, the lawsuits against Combs have accused him of sex trafficking, and that is allegedly what the Homeland Security investigation into him is tied to, a trafficking operation. Remember, his properties in LA and Miami were raided by Homeland Security agents 2 weeks ago. Jones continues in the declaration with, quote, throughout the duration of my time living with Mr. Combs, I personally witnessed Mr. Combs order his staff to bring him drugs and sex workers. This was a common occurrence, and he was never told no. During this time, I was forced to solicit sex workers and perform sex acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs. Unbeknownst to me, Mr. Combs had hidden cameras and audio devices in all of the rooms of his homes. I only discovered this several...
In the next 60 seconds, I'm going to show you how to naturally control blood sugar and naturally increase insulin sensitivity. I've got 3 natural compounds to use today.
2011. It's a rainy day in Sacramento, California. Grandma Chua has mud all over her shoes from doing yard work at the back of the house, but that's not even what she's concerned about right now. Right now, Grandma Chua is staring at this really bizarre, odd sight. She's standing at the opening of the back door to the house, so the back door is open, and in the open doorway is her daughter and her granddaughter. Ka Yang, Chua's daughter, is holding the little 2-month-old baby in her arms, and everything about this sight is just not normal. First of all, Ka's face is red. She's sweaty. She looks like she's just worked out, but she's not even in workout clothes. It's just a little bit puzzling, but at least it's not alarming yet. Until Grandma Chua's eyes go down, Ka's pants, they're wet. There's a massive stain on her thighs. I mean, sure, maybe she could have spilled water on herself, but honestly, it looked more like she urinated on herself. Then Grandma Chua's eyes go to baby Mirabelle, the 2-month-old granddaughter. She's not moving. She's not making a single noise. In fact, her face is red and her body seems unusually stiff. But it's very hard to tell because she's in her onesie, she's wrapped up in this blanket, and her daughter is telling her, Mom, we gotta go to the hospital. She's sick. Hurry, we gotta go to the hospital. Another odd detail Grandma Chua notices right at this moment is that her daughter Ka sounds like her tongue is injured. She's not enunciating like she normally does. I imagine it's kind of like trying to talk with your fingers clamped on your tongue. It sounds kind of odd. Kind of like that the whole time. And a little bit of blood is on her lip. Grandma Chua goes straight into grandma mode. She runs into the house. She takes her granddaughter Maribel, places her down, unzips her PJs, and her skin, the skin on this little baby's chest is bright red. Her skin is peeling. She's got these angry, bright red marks all over her body. Ka reaches over to peel off Maribel's skin near the chest. I don't know if it was an instinct. I don't know why she's doing that.
Peel off?
Just grab and peel. I guess maybe she's confused. I don't know. But Grandma Chua slaps her daughter's hands away, and within minutes, 911 is called. And within minutes of that, first responders are arriving at the scene. They're rushing into the house. What happened? What happened? The consensus in the house seemed to be that the baby was accidentally dropped onto the space heater, and now she's unconscious. There was nothing the first responders could do. Within 9 minutes, baby Maribel would be pronounced dead at the scene of the crime. And there would just be so many questions that the authorities have now. Like, why is Maribel's body covered in burns, but her hair and her clothes aren't nearly as burnt? That doesn't make sense if she fell on the space heater. What happened during the 11 minutes that Maribel was left alone with her mom? And does it have anything to do with the little purple pacifier that they find inside the microwave? So Ka Yang, in fact, sometimes he's gone for like 2 weeks at a time. But it's fine. The family always comes to help Ka, so she's not alone. Her brother-in-law, Va, so Ka Yang's brother-in-law, was at the house. He was living at the house when this happened. He's just helping her take care of the kids. And on that particular night, even Ka Yang's mom slept over the night before. So she's got a lot of support. So she can just focus on doing her work. She works from home and applying for benefits and taking care of the kids. They have 4 kids, 3 boys under 7, and now 2-month-old Maribel. Va, the brother-in-law, had just left the house to go pick the boys up from school. And when he walked out of the house, he remembers seeing Ka holding Maribel and working on her computer. Ka's mom is out on the yard doing some yard work. And for the next 11 minutes, Ka and Maribel are alone. The police need to know what happened in those 11 minutes. They're wet. There's a massive stain on her thighs. I mean, sure, maybe she could have spilled water on herself, but honestly, it looks more like she urinated on herself. Then Grandma Chua's eyes go to baby Maribel, the 2-month-old granddaughter. Her onesie, she's wrapped up in this blanket, and her daughter is telling her, Mom, we gotta go to the hospital. She's sick. She's sick. Hurry, we gotta go to the hospital. Chua notices right at this moment is that her daughter Ka sounds like her tongue is injured. She's not enunciating like she normally does. I imagine it's kind of like trying to talk with your fingers clamped on your tongue. It sounds kind of odd. Kind of like that the whole time. And a little bit of blood is on her lip. Grandma Chua goes straight into grandma mode. She runs into the house. She takes her granddaughter Maribel, places her down, unzips her PJs, and her skin. The skin on this little baby's chest is bright red. Her skin is peeling. She's got these angry, bright red marks all over her body. Ka reaches over to peel off Maribel's skin near the chest. I don't know if daughter's hands away. And within minutes, 911 is called. And within minutes of that, first responders are arriving at the scene. They're rushing into the house. What happened? What happened? The consensus in the house seemed to be that the baby was accidentally dropped onto the space heater. And now she's unconscious. There was nothing the first responders could do. Within 9 minutes, baby Maribel would be pronounced dead at the scene of the crime. And there would just be so many questions that the authorities have now. Like, why is Maribel's body covered in burns, but her hair and her clothes aren't nearly as burnt? That doesn't make sense if she fell on the space heater. What did they find inside the microwave? We would profit that provides essential support to spin off YouTube under a few more days. In fact, sometimes he's gone for like 2 weeks at a time. But it's fine. The family always comes to help Ka, so she's not alone. Her brother-in-law, Va, so Ka Yang's brother-in-law, was at the house. He was living at the house when this happened. He's just helping her take care of the kids. And on that particular night, even Ka Yang's mom slept over the night before. So she's got a lot of support. So she can just focus on doing her work. She works from home and applying for benefits and taking care of the kids. They have 4 kids, 3 boys under 7, and now 2-month-old Maribel. Va, the brother-in-law, had just left the house to go pick the boys up from school. And when he walked out of the house, he remembers seeing Ka holding Maribel and working on her computer. Ka's mom is out on the yard doing some yard work, and for the next 11 minutes, Ka and Mirabel are alone. The police need to know what happened in those 11 minutes. They only have Ka's word, or at least initially, to go off of, and Ka said, I don't know what happened. I felt this weird pounding in my head. I saw this bright flash of white light, and that's all I remember. That's it. The next thing she knows, she's waking up on the floor. She's laying on something wet. Her pants are drenched. And she's like, that's my urine. She had wet herself. And she had bit her tongue. Her tongue is raw, like she bit off a chunk of it. She didn't actually bite off a chunk of it, but it felt like it. It was just weird to have her memory wiped for however long that was. She was at her desk one moment, and then on the floor of her bedroom, drenched in urine the next moment, with no recollection of how she got there, what happened in between, nothing. So in this confused, head-pounding state, she gets up, and she sees 2-month-old Mirabel on the ground, laying next to her. And her face, Mirabel's eyes aren't open, but her whole face is bright red. She reaches over and Mirabel is stiff. She's not breathing, she's not responding to touch, she's not moving, and Ka is now full on panicking. She says she picks up Mirabel, rushes into the kitchen because that's where she assumed her mom would be at this point. Her mom rushes in through the back door. They rush to take off Mirabel's pajamas. They notice all these bizarre burn marks and they start freaking out. Va walks in through that door at the exact moment. He had left the house for 15 minutes to grab Ka's sons from school. Now he's walking in and everybody's freaking out and Mirabel is unconscious on the table and he would be the one to call 911.
So Va is the brother-in-law and he just returned home with the sons?
Yes. Ka and her family agree. I mean, in this state, she must have fell on top of the baby on the space heater. She's holding Mirabel, suffers a seizure, drops Mirabel onto the space heater, and almost squashes her. So she's on top of her, sandwiching her onto the space heater. That's the only thing that makes sense, right, for these burns. But it doesn't make sense. Not even a little bit. Because how is Mirabel burned head to toe, but her hair and pajamas are not that burned? Both sides of her body are burned. It would take the investigators 3 months to figure out exactly what happened to Mirabel. They had a hunch, but to get the exact evidence that they needed to arrest Ka, it would take 3 months. The experts working on the case said, she has some deep tissue burns, probably the worst I'd ever seen. Another officer states, I mean, it's clear the child was burned, but the source was mysterious. The burns are not typical of fire or acid injuries even, and there is damage to the baby's clothing, but not too much. And specifically, she had radiation burns. That's very specific. One of the most common ways people get
laundry detergent recommended by dermatologists for sensitive skin. And it's free of dyes and perfumes. For an effective clean that's...
Lose weight quickly by Christmas. I couldn't believe it. I
Radiation
lost
burns
17
is
pounds
through
in just 12
chemotherapy.
days by simply drinking
If the
a cup of this
radiation affects the
recipe
healthy
every...
tissues, then it could lead to internal burns. Or let's say you have repeated and prolonged exposure to X-rays performed on the body. It could cause radiation burns. Or you could be near a nuclear accident. That's a radiation burn. Or you're mishandling radioactive materials. Those are the most common ways. This makes the situation even more confusing because by all accounts, Mirabel is a healthy baby. She likely did not have enough X-rays to warrant radiation burns. She did not need chemotherapy. She's not near a nuclear plant or an accident. She would not be in a setting where she would handle radioactive materials. It's not something you just buy at the store. She's 2 months old. And the level of the burns are extensive. The burns run so deep that it fried her internal organs. The police are quick to look for any other cases where this happened, where an infant was found deceased and had extensive radiation burns on their body. They come across 2. Joshua Malden from Texas, his 2-month-old daughter was found with 2nd and 3rd degree burns to her left ear, cheek, hand, and shoulder. She did survive, but her left ear had to be partially amputated and she had to have several skin grafts because of radiation burns. Joshua originally told the authorities that his daughter had suffered from severe sunburn. Well, I might have also accidentally spilled hot water on her while I was making some coffee. But that all turned out to be a lie. Then in Ohio, China Arnold's 28-day-old daughter, Paris, was found badly burned after a fight with China's boyfriend. So China and her boyfriend get into this huge argument where the boyfriend is like, that's not my baby. You slept with somebody else. That's not my baby. They get into this huge argument, and then Paris, the 28-day-old daughter, is found dead with internal radiation burns. In both cases, the children's injuries were consistent with baby Maribel. And in both cases, both children had been microwaved. There are reasons why when you heat up food on the stove or in the oven or perhaps the microwave, they taste differently, even if it's the same leftover pizza, because they heat food differently. If you put pizza on the stove top gets really hot, whether it's gas or electric, and then it heats up the pan, and then you place the pizza on the hot pan. An oven, it heats up the air inside the oven. So that's why when you open it, you get that rush of hot air. The air touches the food and heats up the pizza on the pan in the oven. Microwaves, they work a little bit differently. A microwave is essentially a device that boils water. If you want to simplify it, it heats up water. Without getting too technical, a microwave works by firing these beams of electromagnetic waves at food. And these beams cause the water molecules inside the food to start rotating. And they start rotating faster and faster. And the water molecules, essentially, they start vibrating. And that vibrating friction produces heat because they're moving around back and forth very quickly. That's why an empty plate in the microwave does not get too hot because there's no water molecules to vibrate and heat up. To some extent, microwaves do heat and cook food from the inside, which I agree. There is anecdotal evidence that the frozen burrito in the microwave is hot on the outside, cold on the inside, but that can be because of two different things. One, there are cold spots in microwaves because the radiation waves do not hit certain points of food. It literally does not go that deep. But also, the way that microwaves work, they bring that heat to the surface of the food. So to put it simply, water from inside the food turns into steam and tries to escape the food, but it can't escape, so it just liquefies again at the surface of the food, which is why most microwaved items are left a bit squishy, if you will. Mm-hmm. There are speculations on what could happen if you're trapped inside of a microwave. These are the speculations.
If you're trapped in a microwave?
Yes. I know that we're more commonly used to the household microwaves, but there's industrial strength microwave warmth on your skin. But other than that, the first 10 seconds will be more so confused panicking. It's around 11 seconds in that you might start noticing some weird discomfort in your eyes. The eyes go first. The human eyeball is made up of 98% water, and those water molecules inside the eyeball are gonna start vibrating. And your vision is gonna start vibrating. There was a woman who stuck her head in a microwave and somehow managed to turn it on. Please don't ever do this. But she stated that she felt her eyeball vibrating inside of her head. She said her vision was also vibrating. She's lucky that she did not lose her eyesight completely. 25 seconds in, there's gonna be this prickly sensation on your skin, like you're being poked by one of those cactus plants. It stings, but it's not the biggest pain you've ever felt in your life. Within 30 seconds, your body will start profusely sweating. It's a natural reaction to your body's temperature rising. And then around that point, at 40 seconds in, you might notice some steam coming out of your body. Literally, you're generating steam. Those are the water molecules inside of your body area. They're gonna start trying to force their way out of the layers of the skin. You will likely be conscious for this. After 80 seconds, the fluid in the eyes becomes heated up, causing your vision to warp. It'll likely be incredibly physically difficult, near impossible to try and keep your eyes open at this point because of the pain. But once you close your eyes, your ears start going off. The pressure in your ears starts becoming unmanageable to the point where, you know how your ears are an important part of keeping balance? Once that's gone, you're gonna lose all sense of balance. You're gonna fall to the ground and not know which way is up. Then comes the whistling. It sounds like there's water boiling inside of your ear and it's trying to get out. It's like an angry pot of pasta on the stove, but it sounds and feels like it's directly in your eardrum. Again, this is a theoretical idea of what would happen. The blood vessels will pop. Then comes the third-degree burns. There may be bodily fluid seeping out of the eyes and the eardrums will rupture. We're just 2 minutes and 20 seconds in. It's gonna be at the 2-minute and 25-second mark that the blood inside your body will likely start to boil, which makes the entire surface of your skin bright red. The smell will be intense at this point. After 160 seconds, it will likely be unbearable to breathe. And as you're focused on trying to get air into your system, the blood will thicken, coagulate, the water content in your body is rapidly dropping, and you will be totally paralyzed from the nerve damage and shock. After 200 seconds, or 3 minutes and 20 seconds, one will likely suffer a debilitating stroke, and after 5 minutes, there's gonna be massive organ failure that leads to death. This is theoretically what would happen if you were to be trapped inside an industrial-strength microwave, which is about 3,000 watts of power. Most household microwaves are about 1,000 watts of power. I imagine things will water, and likely the blood in your body starts to boil while it's inside your body. It's heating up inside your body and it can't really escape. It's just vibrating, causing friction, causing immense heat. Depending on the power of the microwave, a human being might live for several minutes. The body is generating steam. Most of the injuries will be internal, and it is essentially being lit on fire, but from the inside. Which termed seizure, now it just doesn't make any sense with the injuries. Side note, it is March in Sacramento, which is a bit chilly. It's customary. So some people even questioned, why was there a space heater? Why were they using a space heater? It wasn't cold enough for a space heater, they were saying. But that's why. There was a space heater on the ground right next to Kai Yang's work computer. So there is one there. If she had fallen on the space heater, let's say she fell into the space heater on her back, she would have severe external burns on her back, and she would not have that many internal burns.
Yeah, and on the clothes, right?
Yes, and Mirabel's injuries are not consistent with that. One of the officers in the investigation team states, the child sustained unusual and rare thermal burns. The investigation revealed that these burns were consistent with only 2 or 3 other cases in the country with the same similar type of injuries, and that was determined that those injuries occurred as a result of being burned in a microwave.
So they arrived at the scene, and then they went back to the station, and they found the other cases. When did they find the microwave? You say there's a...
The pacifier?
Yeah.
They found it early on. But they can't, when you find a pacifier in the microwave, some people might think you're heating up the pacifier. Some people might think another kid, maybe the son put it in there. There's no evidence, there's no blood or anything in the microwave that would indicate, hey, someone was in the microwave.
So they didn't...
It's epilepsy. So it's not like her story doesn't check out completely. It just doesn't make full and complete sense to the investigators. They find the pacifier, they bring in Maribel to be autopsied. Her injuries are bizarre. They look through all the case files of weird incidents where children have turned up with similar injuries. They find those cases and they...
What if I told you there is no such thing as no internet? This brand new portable Wi-Fi router provides more...
Justice will find you.
Don't do this to me. Don't ruin my life.
Malice behind your eyes.
Mother of 2, Kirsty Flood, began babysitting 2-year-old Fallon Lynn Fridley in August of 2020. This went on for 4 months, 3 days a week, without incident. But on December 9th, the nightmare began when Fallon was found unresponsive in Kirsty's care before being rushed to the hospital. Various injuries on the toddler's body led to an investigation that would send shockwaves through the local community. Crying voices laced with rage screamed in unison. Justice for Fallon.
I tried to call and text Kirsty several times, and calls were going straight to voicemail.
I'm Mr. Black, and this is the disturbing truth.
He said, should we...
16 miles from Atlanta, Georgia, in a town called Sandy Springs, a typical day began for Kristen Fridley, or Chris, and her 2-year-old daughter, Fallon. The toddler was woken up at 6 a.m., dressed and given her morning snack, along with a cup of almond milk. Kristen told her daughter that she loved her, and received the usual sweet reply of,
"You're sweetheart,"
before Fallon and her stepfather Cameron Gant left the house. Cameron would drop Fallon off at the babysitter's house at around 6:30 a.m. before heading on to work. Chris worked as a veterinary technician for an animal rescue organization while Cameron was a landscaper. When Fallon's daycare closed during COVID, Chris's friend of about 5 years, Kirsty Flood, would look after the little girl while the couple worked. In many ways, it would have seemed like the ideal situation. Kirsty was a close, long-term friend. So close, in fact, that years prior, she helped Chris come out of a struggle with addiction. Kirsty was seemingly worthy of the trust bestowed on her, especially considering the history she and Chris shared. And even more especially after 4 months of constant reliability in her care. Chris said herself that Fallon seemed so happy in Kirsty's care that some days when they would come to pick her up, she didn't even want to leave.
You're so funny. I love you.
Flood had 2 children herself, an 8-month-old and a 3-year-old daughter named Harper. Fallon and the 3-year-old were best friends. Everything seemed like the perfect setup. While Chris was at work on December 9th, she received a text around 1:30 p.m. from Kirsty, asking if Fallon could stay the night at her house. In 4 months of babysitting, Fallon had never stayed overnight at Kirsty's, but Chris had no reason to suspect anything was off with the request. After all, 2-year-old Fallon and 3-year-old Harper were best friends. If anything, it just looked like a sleepover in good company, with familiar, trustworthy people. People who had been there when Chris herself was struggling. What harm could it do? Chris called Kirsty when she got off work at around 4:30. Her phone was about to die. While odd, it didn't send off any immediate red flags. Later, Chris tried to call and text Kirsty several times, but all those calls went straight to voicemail. Stepfather Cameron was starting to feel uneasy at this point and even suggested that perhaps they should just go pick Fallon up. But still, Chris thought there was no major cause for concern because Kirsty was someone she trusted and even looked up to.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fallon. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Blow it.
Blow it.
Blow it.
At around 6:30 p.m., Kirsty finally messages Chris to say that everyone is home and safe. Chris replies with no problem and asks if she can FaceTime Fallon. Kirsty tells Chris to give her an hour to charge her phone first. Then an hour later, Kirsty FaceTimes Chris from a very dim-lit room where Fallon appears to be propped up on the bed. Kirsty explains to Chris that Fallon has just woken up from a nap. Chris said the phone was roughly 5 feet from her daughter, and while she didn't notice anything visibly off in the dim room, Fallon was not responding to her mother. This was out of character according to Chris and Cameron. Then when Chris asked Fallon if she wanted to talk to Daddy and passed the phone to Cameron, the call suddenly ended. Cameron again suggested going to pick Fallon up, but again, Chris declined, a decision she regrets to this day.
With inflation, even my tutoring wasn't cutting it. And my husband was already working almost 80 hours a week.
This is your shut up check, right?
Right.
This absolutely exceeded all expectations for me.
From 1 to 10, I would go to 100, to be perfectly honest.
My wife almost divorced me on our honeymoon because I had been lying to her about how much money I made. The truth was, I was more than $100,000 in debt. I'll never forget that fight for 2 reasons. Number 1, it happened on our honeymoon. And number 2, it led me to discover the truth about all these income gurus spamming you with all the hype about affiliate marketing, crypto, AI, data trading done for you, Amazon or Shopify stores, and all the other get-rich-quick online disappointments that you see on social media. Listen, if you need extra income and you're seeing all these ads and you're weighing your options, you need to hear this.
All I can really say is just go out and invest in you.
A couple of hours later, at around 9:20 p.m., Chris receives a crying phone call from a hysterical Kirsty Flood, telling her that she needs to come to Kirsty's apartment immediately. She claimed Fallon had hit her head on a slide and wasn't moving. Paramedics were already on the scene working on the little girl at this time. An officer got on the phone and asked if Chris and Cameron could meet them at the hospital. Next, Chris Fridley found herself facing a parent's worst fear. She was standing in a room at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta with Cameron and her mother. They were in there for what felt like hours. It was a small private room, the kind one might expect to see in an emergency department. This was the kind of room that no one wants to be in. The kind of room with walls that rarely echo good news. Chris demanded to know what was going on and begged to see her daughter, but her pleas were denied. Fallon was alive, and the doctors were running tests and doing everything they could to stabilize the 2-year-old, a 2-year-old whose mother was getting angry. Chris couldn't understand why she couldn't be beside the angel she created, but looking back, she now assumes that she too may have been initially suspected, and what the world now knows was a horrific case of child abuse. The doctor came into the room randomly with updates too vague to conclude anything inherently negative or positive from, but one thing stood out to Fallon's mother. A question he asked in repetition.
What happened to your daughter?
Chris was distraught, confused, maybe even offended at the audacity. Was she getting blamed for something? What exactly had happened to her daughter? She had no idea.
I was asking to see Fallon. They said not yet, we're working on her, and they wouldn't let me see her.
The only information she'd been given was that her daughter had fallen off a slide and hit her head. But the doctor explained that Fallon's injuries were not conducive to playground injuries. In fact, he'd never seen a child recover from damages as severe as those he'd seen on the 2-year-old's body. Simply put, Fallon would need nothing short of a miracle to survive.
Does your daughter have any health conditions?
The doctor asked a now hysterical Chris. But apart from a mild heart murmur that had seemingly mended itself by the child's 2-year checkup, the answer was no, she didn't. Not that anyone was aware of, anyway. But it was clear that Fallon's injuries were nothing to do with a heart murmur. The doctor left the room again. In that moment, a calmness washed over Chris. It was as if a part of her brain shut off. Unfortunately for the family of Fallon Fridley, what Chris refers to as a sweet glaze of denial was nothing more than the calm before the storm. A few moments later, an older man entered the room and introduced himself as the chaplain. But Chris didn't want to see a chaplain. Her daughter was going to be fine. She was offended by his presence because it alluded to a tragedy that she believed was not going to occur. The doctor said himself a miracle could save Fallon, and in her mother's mind, that's exactly what was going to happen. That's what had to happen. When the family was moved to the PICU waiting room, they thought they were finally going to get to see their little girl.
The doctor came in and said we have her stable, but critical.
So Chris and Cameron were relieved, and seeing as the PICU room had a bed in it, they began to discuss what they needed from home in order to stay overnight. But the problem was, when they were told the words stable but critical, they only heard the word stable. A new female doctor greeted them in the PICU room to discuss Fallon's condition and have the family sign off on some medical procedures. One of these procedures involved inserting a catheter into the child's leg. On the form it read, 90% chance of recovery. But the doctor's expression indicated that sadly, this was not the case for Fallon. 90% was only relative to the success of the procedure itself, not the little girl's chance of survival. Fallon had immense internal bleeding, zero brain activity, and her heart was only working because of the medication she was being given. If it wasn't for medical intervention, the 2-year-old wouldn't be breathing. But as far as Chris was concerned, a miracle could still occur. Her daughter wasn't dead if her heart was still beating. No matter what they told her, there was still hope. If Fallon was alive, she could pull through. But as much as Kristen Fridley couldn't accept the information she was given, she was about to have to face the truth of the matter. As a code blue was called to the doctor that stood before her, Chris's life would forever change with 5 simple words. Her heart stopped beating again. After the family was asked to follow the doctor out of the room and down the hall, they were led into another room where they finally got to see their baby girl. But it wasn't how any parent should ever have to see their child. It was a total nightmare. The family watched in horror as so many doctors tried to keep Fallon alive. Chest compression after chest compression after chest compression. I can't imagine the trauma that a parent would face witnessing something like that. The doctor informed the family that they would have to out and she almost hit the floor, but someone caught her. She was hysterical, as anyone would be. When you have a 2-year-old, your life is in that child. It leads to the protection and safety of that soul you created. You would never concede, you would never give up on them. It just isn't possible. But while Kristen screamed for God to take her instead of Fallon, her cries fell upon deaf ears. The CPR stopped. The nurses and doctors backed away from the little girl's bedside, and the room went silent. Chris rushed to her daughter, crying out and begging her to wake up, but she wouldn't. She was gone. A nearby nurse gently picked up Fallon and placed her into her mother's arms. Kristen Fridley held her daughter there as she stroked her hair and kissed her face until her own screams became mumbles, mutterings that still begged for her daughter Fallon to wake up. And as she sat there, she felt the baseball-sized knot on the back of Fallon's head.
At 118, they let me hold her, and I could just feel back of her head how swollen it was, and her body was purple. She didn't look like my Fallon, and I probably stayed there with her for an hour just to look like her. This is what I see every night before I go to bed.
Why LA women aren't going to the gym.
Is this your tennis instructor?
No, that's my mom.
No way. Mind if I ask how old you are?
Sure. I'm 47. I'm 22.
That is insane. You both look amazing. Do you work out a lot?
Not really. We like to play pickleball.
Are you on any kind of strict diet?
We've tried diets.
Fallon Lynn Fridley died on December 10th, 2020, in a hospital with the people who loved her the most right by her side. And while Fallon may very well be in a better place, the ones that stood near as she took her last breath wanted answers. What really happened to that innocent little girl? An autopsy of Fallon Fridley shows the child sustained a skull fracture as well as multiple internal injuries, including lacerations to her liver, her spleen, and even her colon. A medical examiner ruled the death as homicide by blunt force trauma. According to babysitter Kirsty Flood, Fallon fell and hit her head on the slide while at a park on December 9th. When they returned home to apartments on Monterey Parkway in Sandy Springs, Kirsty said she noticed the little girl was acting a little strange, so she put her to bed. Then later she claims Fallon wouldn't wake up. EMS responded to a 911. What you're about to see has never been seen by the public. You're going to witness the police interviews of both Kirsty Flood and her boyfriend, Jeffrey Myers. The details that unfold during the following series of interrogations are hard to hear, but listening to them helps paint a picture to better understand how things transpired the final day that Fallon Fridley was in the care of Kirsty Flood.
All right, Kirsten. This is my partner, Detective Pearson.
Hello, Mr. Pearson.
Hello. You doing late up? It's so stuck being here.
Yeah, I'm ready to go out. I'm always hot, kind of worrying stuff there.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, it's hard because, like, right now we're in the weather where you can get cold.
You can wear a sweatshirt and shorts at the same time.
Yeah, it's so jacked up right now. Sorry, my notes are all jacked up right now because it's been one of those days, unfortunately.
Get that.
Sorry.
After the officers introduce themselves to Kirsty, the leading detective preps his notes to begin questioning. Kirsty asks if he's met Fallon's mother.
See, you met her mom?
What's that?
You met her mom?
I did, yeah.
How's she doing?
She's obviously upset. I mean, I don't think there's any way to not be right now, not be upset. But she's upset. I met
Cameron,
I miss too. I reserve judgment, because that's what I do.
Yeah. Waiting that until.
Well, ma'am, what I'm doing. So I'm coming in, like when you see me walking in late, that means I have absolutely no idea, or I really don't know what's going on. So
Is Hog already?
No, actually,
he came in late. So
I've been so busy at the hospital and doing other things that I haven't even talked to him yet.
Okay, can I ask you one question?
Mm-hmm.
How come they did this so fast?
Did what so fast?
Just let her go.
What do you mean, let her go?
They won't let this fight?
She's still at the hospital. She's okay. I mean, she's not doing okay, but she's still at the hospital. She's in. Like I said, well, she's not doing good. But she can't be okay. I don't know. She's still heartbeat. Heart still beating. God. Heart still beating. God has a plan then.
It seems like the detective is caught off guard by the fact that Kirsty is unaware that Fallon has died. This may alter how he initially planned to conduct his questioning going forward.
Who said that?
The officer.
Who said that?
The officer.
No, she's not. She's not gone. Her heart's still beating.
Why did you tell me that?
Honestly, probably just miscommunication.
Apparently, officers don't have to tell the truth during questioning. And since they've already led Kirsty to believe Fallon is alive, they probably realize she's more likely to continue to talk to them truthfully if she thinks a murder charge is off the table. At this point, if she were to admit to assaulting a child, it's a much lesser charge if that child is still alive, rather than if her crimes resulted in that child's death. And if Kirsty asks for a lawyer, the interview is over. Hope is a powerful tool in many interrogations. As long as Kirsty Flood has hope, she's likely to talk.
Just confirming, Kirsty, the last name's Flood, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Sometimes I can't even read my own writing. I'm just writing stuff fast and just, yeah.
We're good. So y'all don't do the mask thing, or what?
We do. Would you feel better if I had a mask on?
No, I just prefer to speak.
Yeah.
And not be, you know what I mean?
The hope that we mentioned before, coupled with the leading detective's calm, casual, friendly demeanor, could be the cause of Kirsty fully removing her mask. Maybe she's starting to relax into the situation and believes she's not in as much trouble as she once may have thought. You'll notice her tone of voice becomes more stable, and her need to hide behind the mask disappears.
I typically watch Fallon 4 days a week, roughly. I've been with my company for 6 years, so I'm getting paid unemployment to stay home. I'm also in school for cybersecurity. I have a newborn, a 3, almost 4-year-old, and Fallon is 2. Like I said, I'm with her 3-4 days a week. Me and her mom, you know, we've been through a lot together. I helped her get sober a long time ago. Quite some time ago, I was reached out to saying that she was homeless and, you know, strung out and, you know, she wouldn't listen to anybody, and I was just like that one person that kind of just like spoke to her, that she listened to, right? So it took me to detox, fast forward. She went down to Miami, had Fallon in rehab with some scum. He's never raised her, never claimed her, never nothing. So I have a soft spot for Fallon. That's why I charge $125 a week, and that's nothing if you know that. You know, and I do it because she's a friend, and I do it because I love Fallon. I don't know Cameron very well, but
We'll come back to the topic of Fallon's stepfather, Cameron, later. But Kirsty seems to want to use the information she's divulging as a way to paint herself as a saint. And to be fair, it's also worth mentioning that most of the people that spoke about Kirsty did so painting her in the light of a loving mother who adored her own children. But it's worth noting that Kirsty had a history of battery dating back to 2010, where she was ordered to undergo counseling and avoid contact with the victims of her assault. She also had a history with drugs. She goes on in her interrogation to briefly mention Fallon's stepfather, Cameron, before continuing to discuss the details that transpired on December 9th.
I don't know him. I know a little bit. I'm trying to get to know him. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Long story short, he drops Fallon off this morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. And she stays, she goes in the room with Harper. She plays with Harper for a decent amount of the day. Her and Harper, my daughter, are like best friends.
Your bill, ladies.
I got it. No,
so
you
they
don't.
play, and then finally
Yes, I
we
did.
end up
People
going
with
to
the
the
Wells
park.
Fargo Active
This
Cash
is
credit
hours
card
later.
prefer to pay because they earn unlimited 2% cash back
so
on
for
purchases.
breakfast, she
Visit
had,
wellsfargo.com/activecash.
cereal bar.
Terms apply.
Lunch, cheese puffs. They had some goldfish, graham cracker, chocolate ones. She was eating fine. She only eats junk food, right? And at my house, we incorporate vegetables.
Which says she had problems, I'm sorry?
That's all I was at YouTube.
I'm trying to keep up with you. You said cereal bar for breakfast and
Cereal bar for breakfast, and then she had goldfish, cookie, the chocolate ones. And then she had cheese puffs.
Okay.
And then she had some of her yogurt. I buy her silk yogurt because she is non-dairy. So she primarily does silk, almond milk and stuff like that. So I buy her specific things that she likes. She is very, very small. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but she doesn't really eat much, but when she does, it's typically junk food. So, that's just what it is. But anyway, so she ate that. Okay, so we get in the car. Morgan Falls is what? A mile and a half from my house?
Yeah, barely.
Kirsty is referring to Morgan Falls River Park, which leads to Overlook Park, a popular destination for families with kids as it has a nice partially covered kids' play area overlooking the Morgan Falls Reservoir.
We were the last people there.
Right before dark, though?
Yeah,
Okay.
right when it was getting, starting to get dark.
Probably like 5:30-ish.
Ish, we started leaving. No, when it started getting dark, it was like, I have my phone. My phone died when I was out there. But I have, 4:26, how's my girl? So we're about to go to Morgan Falls. My phone is about to die. We just pulled up. She said tell her mommy misses her. And then here's a picture of my daughter and Fallon playing together, besties.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm on the floor. The reason why I'm right here is because I'm on the floor with my infant. I always bring like a little picnic thing, snacks, blanket, going on. And you got 3, you try to monitor it all. So anyways, I put both the babies on the swing, my babies, on the bucket swings. And then she goes down the slide, falls off, and when you go down a slide and you drop, that's what happened. And I was telling him she dropped, but I don't know if that had anything to do with anything. You know what I mean?
Did she cry?
No. When she's such the most quiet baby, and that is alarming in situations like at home.
Gotcha.
Kirsty has just admitted that Fallon is a very quiet child. If detectives were wondering if maybe the child had behavior problems and an adult lost control while dealing with that through abusive discipline, well, Kirsty just ruled that out. The detective peering off into space and reaching for the back of his head may indicate a restructuring of questioning strategy. It's clear that letting Kirsty speak is the most optimal thing he can do right now.
And that is what has been an issue for me, but you can't go to a mother and say, hey, the man you just married, I understand. Maybe not leave him with him all day on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Wholeheartedly, yeah.
First of all, I would never marry a man with a record like that.
Yeah.
Second off, you're never going to be left with my child.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wouldn't even let them babysit my children.
No, I wouldn't either.
So,
no
there's
way,
that.
Jose.
At this point, it's unclear exactly what past Kirsty's referring to when it comes to Cameron, or what this has to do with the damage Fallon suffered while in her care. After dropping Fallon off with Kirsty, Cameron was nowhere near the little girl. This is the second time she's mentioned Fallon's stepfather. Regardless of what his past may be, the fact remains that Cameron was not present during the time Fallon appears to have suffered the injuries. Kirsty was.
So anyway, she's always at my home. I feed her, I bathe her, I do everything for her. I try to limit her mom's stressors to the maximum degree, basically.
I was curious too. I was seeing that was pretty good. Do you have like any other pictures of her today?
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, I'm all about the pics.
Cool. Can I take a look? I just want to see because I'm just trying to play catch up. So I really appreciate you doing
Yeah, I am all, here we go, we make it easier.
And these are today?
Mhm.
Okay.
So these are,
Wait a minute, that can't be her. That's your baby, right? I'm messing with you.
that's my little stud muffin. I love him.
So which one? Okay.
That's Fallon, and that's my baby Harper.
What a sweet.
Yeah, so I have a 3-row seat. So I put their car seats in the back, and then I put my baby boy, face forward in the middle. Because I've been in 2 really bad car wrecks.
Oh, yeah.
So I try and, I just got that sticker on there today. I mean...
Oh, this was today?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That was from today?
I don't know about this picture, but this is definitely today because that's the jacket she was wearing this morning. Sometimes she likes to sleep in my son's crib. So I put that little glove, those little like pee-pee thingies.
Boppy or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and then I keep her safe, just in case if like I'm in the living room or whatever, because she's still little, whatever. But
Yeah, I'm gonna do this and go back to the one because I'm just curious.
Which one?
The last one that you had shown. I'm sorry.
Looks like they're getting along so well, huh?
Oh, with them two?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're best friends.
Oh,
Well, you can go. I mean, really, if you look at
Yeah.
if you look at my child, she's literally, a part of my family.
Domain.com is for the doers. And when you're ready to put your big idea online, this is where it all starts. First, pick a name that suits you and fits what you're trying to do. With hundreds of unique domain extensions that can make your site really stand out, we'll help you find the one. And Domain.com has everything you need to make your site real, and real good. Our website builder requires no technical knowledge and lets you get online fast. Super fast. Or if you need more flexibility, you can build with WordPress. With thousands of themes and plugins, WordPress makes it easy to create your site your way. And we've got plenty of reliable web hosting options. So whether you're just starting out or need a bunch of powerful features, we have the right plan to support your site. And we're pretty serious about security here. We feature lots of ways to keep you, your customers, and your data protected. Domain.com is your all-in-one solution to getting online. Go from idea to I do. It all starts with a great domain. Get yours at Domain.com.
Why are women everywhere choosing ABX, the new tummy tuck alternative?
I got the tummy tuck results without the tummy tuck downtime.
Get a flat, tight tummy with Sonobello's new ABX. One visit, fast, and loose excess skin removal.
Sonobello's ABX is a tremendous breakthrough. Combine both
Gotcha. She is right there. That's my son and my daughter. So like we really, we really have made it something so special. That's why like I'm like really proud of making sure that she's not. I don't know why he told me that she was gone.
It's possible that Kirsty may think she's coming off as a caring and responsible adult by showing pictures she took of her kids and Fallon that day. But in reality, the detectives are likely looking for visible signs of injury that may have been present during that time frame. If detectives were previously considering Chris and Cameron as suspects, this information might help rule them out. Next, the lead detective steps away, allowing the second detective to present his own questions.
You know what I mean? Then I want pictures and I need.
Sorry. Give me one second. Oh, no, it's okay. So, yeah, just hang tight. I'm just trying to, like I said, I was just trying to get caught up. So clearly, the little girl she went to the hospital. Now, that's what I don't understand. So I was literally asleep. And my phone rings at roughly 11 o'clock and I came in. So that was where you believed, I guess, that she may have fell off the slide or whatnot?
Okay, so, I mean, to me, the slide, the thing, whatever, that just sounds like, but then like on the bottom of the slide, there's like you know, the bottom of the slide, and then you could like, when you lift your head up, the only thing I could think of is there maybe, because I noticed like a little bit of red right here. It's nothing serious, it's like a little bit of red. But that was it. I'm like, there's nothing serious enough to where it would be like, oh my gosh, like I need to rush her to the hospital because internal bleeding. You know what I mean? Like my child fell off the top of the playground. But a huge difference. So I played it like it was. You know what I mean? Went home, laid her down. She wanted to lay down for a minute. So I laid her down. She has her own bed, actually, at my house. I have a bed for my daughter and I have a bed for her. Laid her down next to her, and then cooked dinner. I cooked mac and cheese and vegetables.
Was she playing at the house when I got back? Was she okay then?
She was playing for like a second, and then when she wanted to go lay down. So in my daughter's room, she has a TV, she has all this stuff they just love. So that's like the little spot, and then they have a playroom too. She went and lay down, and then just for a minute, and then I was like, Fallon, are you hungry? You want dinner? And she ran. You can ask Jeff. I'm not yelling so he doesn't think. She ran to the kitchen. I'm thinking, oh, baby, she's hungry, she feels good, she's great. She made me lay down for a second, whatever, well, cool. And then, doesn't eat. But I'm thinking, oh God, that's weird. You know what I mean? You were just so hungry. I'm not giving you candy, you know? I'm not just gonna keep giving you candy. And like, that's like, I think what her parents might do, say, it's just easier way out is candy and chips.
Just to make it easy, just to get the food. Yeah, I do it.
And I'm overweight.
It's not great parenting, but hey.
No, I get it too, but I'm overweight and I don't want to do it to my kids. So basically I'm just trying to like have healthy options at my house.
Okay, cool.
So anyway, she didn't eat. Harper, I ended up giving all the food to my dog. I literally just threw it. She had like 2 bites. I think she had like the veggies and then maybe 1 shell of a noodle. And then the rest I just gave to my pet because I ran out of dog food and
it happens.
I couldn't go to the store. I was trying to cook dinner, trying to do all this, didn't want to leave her. So we stepped outside for 5 minutes, whatever, 10 minutes, smoke stay. I don't even know how long it was, not long at all. Go back in there and check on her and she's looking like this. And I'm like, what is that about?
Yeah.
Like, so my daughter has a unicorn. I built her like a unicorn. You saw it, the Christmas tree.
Get that out of here. I'm gonna go talk with him real quick. Yeah. So there's no, just so we can get this whole thing going.
Am I talking too much?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
In the middle of Kirsty describing the events leading up to Fallon being hospitalized, the lead detective excuses him.
I haven't worn sunscreen in over 20 years because I eat my sunscreen.
What does that mean? You're like squirting it in your mouth?
Himself again to go into the other room and speak with Kirsty's partner, Jeffrey Myers.
She was, and then that's when y'all called when she had the distant look, I guess, that when you called the ambulance?
She had the distant look. I put her in the tub because shell shock. You know what I mean? That cold water.
Yep.
Sometimes can, just do the trick, just real fast. So she was in her diaper and even still in her socks. And because I don't want to shell shock her too bad.
Right, you put her in the tub with her socks and diaper?
Like literally like sat her down like this, shone the cold water, held her back, like the back of her neck like this, and nothing. Didn't even respond to the water.
Put yourself in Kirsty Flood's situation for a moment. A 2-year-old that you're watching for someone else is displaying signs of cognitive decline so severe that they're refusing to eat and are unresponsive. What would you do? You'd likely call for help immediately. What kind of person runs a cold bath to submerge an unresponsive 2-year-old child in it, in their diaper and socks? Shell shock is a term that started being used during World War I to describe a type of PTSD some soldiers experienced at war. This has nothing to do with resuscitating a toddler that's unresponsive by submerging them in cold water. What's even more frightening is that Kirsty made the statement that this can sometimes do the trick, as if what she said is common practice. Bizarre doesn't even begin to explain this.
So she just lost consciousness?
Yeah.
You're saying that she, after she had fallen in the, at the park?
Well, her dad just told me he had the flu yesterday. Or on Monday.
Okay.
And she's been sick.
Okay.
And so I say that to say she's been sick because she got my 8-month-old son sick, my daughter sick, all of us sick. You know how that goes. And that was a couple weeks ago, but they said it was a sinus infection. And then on Monday, he calls me. I don't watch her on Mondays. Calls me around like, I don't know, 8 in the morning or whatever. He's like, hey, can you watch Fallon? I need to go to the hospital. I feel like I have, or I feel like I'm super sick. And then apparently he had the flu. And then he drops her back off at my house. And I'm just thinking like, I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, I just wouldn't do that. We don't think the same.
Yeah.
He's also on methadone. So, you know, he, no judgment at all. But I just know that your mental state, if you're on methadone every single day, is not going to be the same as it would be if you weren't.
Yeah.
Methadone is a synthetic heroin. They need to take that off the street. I don't know why the doctors still give that out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If Kirsty's assertion that Cameron has been prescribed methadone by a doctor is correct, it's likely to help him deal with coming clean off an addiction to opioids. Methadone helps reduce withdrawal symptoms that can be dangerous and even life-threatening. If used correctly under a doctor's supervision and not abused, this is a good way to get your life back under control. Kirsty still seems set on painting Cameron as a bad guy, but she's doing a poor job of it. And again, whether or not he is, still doesn't explain what happened to Fallon.
Okay, so, well, basically, now I think I'm more clear at least. So when the kid, when she had basically, I guess, fallen off the swing there at the park, she was, you know, talking and doing everything back at the house as far as she would go. She wanted to go to sleep and that kind of thing. So she was.
The weird thing is that she wanted to go to sleep.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, she was communicating with you, right? I mean, she was walking and things like that. Yeah.
It's perfectly normal for a 2-year-old little girl who initially woke up at 6 a.m. and has been playing all day to need a nap at some point. I don't need to look up any professional advice to attest to this because I have a 2-year-old who often naps in the afternoon, especially if the day has been an active one. For example, playing at the park.
I guess, from what I'm understanding, the kid is pretty ill, you know, to this point, but that's what we're trying to find out. I mean, you're saying that if she may have taken a little tumble off of a slide, but yet she was still walking, doing things, then went to sleep for a little bit, and then you came and saw her later. Yeah, I'm trying to board up what you're telling me.
She always has,
And she just had like a distant look about her, and then now at what point did it go from that to crap? Put her in and she's unresponsive in the tub.
Have you ever seen a kid do that?
Do what?
This.
I mean, looking to the left or right.
No, like literally like looking at you and then just go like this. And then just stop and not look back.
Okay. So you're saying she looked either left or right, one of the two sides, but just kind of looked up and that was it.
That freaked me out right there. I was like, okay, that's weird. To me, that just screams like, I don't know. I don't even know. But I know that that's something I'm unfamiliar with. And being a mother, if I'm not familiar with it, just like a CPR thing, that's why we call the ambulance, because I'm not certified and I'm not going to risk someone's life trying to give CPR if I don't know how to do it correctly.
Again, as the father of a 2-year-old, I've watched countless how-to videos on administering CPR and stopping a child from choking. Should I ever need these skills, the internet has quick-ready tutorials that can save a life fast. Also, 911 dispatchers can assist you over the phone easily. There is no way the situation Kirsty is describing would prompt me to run a cold bath and put an unresponsive 2-year-old in it. Also bear in mind, the only thing Kirsty has really described up to this point is that Fallon was looking to one side.
She would never look back. Her eyes stayed glued to the side, is what you're telling me.
No, I mean, eventually, after a couple minutes, it came back.
Oh, okay.
And then we put her in the tub, 2 seconds. Just a quick little...
You and your boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a quick little... He was helping me trying to do everything in the sweat. Put her in the tub for 2 seconds, and then, you know, bring her back.
I mean, as far as that, I'm just saying, like, I'm sure I can do that.
Rocking her, like, we're literally rocking her, holding her, like, doing all that, you know, like, just the comforting aspect, just trying to get, like, the whatever, I don't know, trying to do everything that I could motherly do. The natural mother things that you could do. And nothing was working.
Okay.
And then she went, what?
At that point, after you got out of the tub?
I'm like, what? No, seriously, like, what is going on? Like, I could see if, like poison or, like, something that would, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need to run some tests on that girl. They really do.
All right.
And they need to run some tests on her. I don't know what to do from here on out though, as far as like I'm her nanny and I'm her all of this, and I don't know, I'm a friend of her mother's. I don't know if I should go to the hospital and give her a hug. As if that was me.
The situation is way past hugs, and listening to Kirsty continually try to convince the officer that she's a great person who cares about Fallon is getting exhausting. When the lead detective returns, it's obvious that he's had enough and he's no longer playing Kirsty's game. He wants answers, and he asserts to Kirsty that he believes she has them. It's time for them to strip away that hope they gave her earlier in the interview.
Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of it, okay? She's in bad shape. Like real bad shape.
What do you mean?
Like she might not make it to the night.
What?
Yep. So I'm gonna read you some stuff because I have some concerns, okay? These are your Miranda rights. You're not under arrest, but you're here in the police station. I'm gonna ask you some very hard questions, so I want you to know what your rights are. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used in court as evidence against you. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions and have him or her with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you without cost, and he or she may be present at all times during your questioning. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you will still have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to a lawyer. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So, what we have here and why I'm concerned. Do you want to know all the issues that she has?
Yes.
Okay. According to the doctors in the ER,
yes,
she has a skull fracture.
A what?
A skull fracture. Her brain is swollen and bleeding. She also has internal bleeding, where she has, according to the doctor, let's see here, her belly is full of blood. She's got an injury to her liver, her spleen, and her colon, and is still actively bleeding inside. She has no brain function.
Oh my God, stop.
She's got bruises all over her body.
Stop.
She's got bruises all over her head. The external part of her head is swollen. She has bruises literally all around her head. I can show you pictures. So that picture you showed me just a few minutes ago, she doesn't look like that right now. She is bad.
And this is precisely the hole that detectives let Kirsty dig for herself by allowing her to talk and show them pictures she took of Fallon at the park that day. There's very little question as to whether or not Fallon's own family could have caused what happened to their daughter. And Kirsty's own rambling testimony has begun to box her into a time frame where only her and Jeffrey could have possibly been around Fallon when the injuries occurred.
You think it's the blood rushing to her head and all that stuff? You know, when you're laying in...
So when she was dropped off this morning,
Yeah.
how did she look? How did she act? Did you notice anything that was out of the ordinary?
Her dad just told me she had the flu. I mean, he had the flu.
That's it.
That's it.
You didn't see any bruises on her head, on her belly?
She had scratches right here.
From a possible dog scratch, right?
She had a scratch right here, and then she had a bruise right here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So
and then
no bruises up here?
No.
Okay, none of that was there.
I mean, she wears her hair like this.
Okay.
She literally wears her hair like this. I would, if I saw a bruise on her head, I would call her mom immediately.
Okay.
I wouldn't just let a bruise just continue to be a bruise, because that's how you get internal bleeding.
Correct.
That's exactly how that happens.
Okay. And she's bleeding internally because she's got injuries to her spleen, colon, liver. And from what you told me, the only thing that happened to her today was the fall off the sled at Morgan Falls Park, where that ground is soft and squishy and bouncy. So they made it that way so kids don't technically get hurt when they fall.
Right.
The injuries that this child has, according to the doctor, are acute, which means they have just recently happened.
There's absolutely no way that just happened.
So these injuries this child has are not consistent with what you're telling me happened. The injuries this child has are from some severe abuse or injury.
How long have you had her today? Just as a
Oh my, I can't even believe. Exactly? How would that even have happened?
You tell me, because we weren't there. Were you the only one with the child today?
I was around a bunch of people at the park.
Now, when did you get
The child, were you caring for the child by yourself today?
Was it? I always
Amazon early holiday deals are here.
If you need a moment to think too.
care for her by myself, always.
Okay.
Every day. There's never been an issue, ever.
What time today did you get her? Or yesterday now?
6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, you had her all day long?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something's happened that we're not being told has happened. Because those injuries just don't appear.
There is absolutely nothing that I would ever do to a child, first and foremost. Second off, if you ever look at my kids, they've never been touched, and they never will be. I don't believe in violence. So the fact that it's an acute thing that just happened,
And you didn't notice any of these injuries on the child before?
I grabbed him the minute I saw him.
Any woman in plaid believes in violence.
Call the ambulance. Does that add up to you? In your head, does that add up to you?
Lots of crazy things can happen.
If you're concerned about something, and the first thing you do is grab somebody and call the ambulance.
Kirsty makes it sound like she was so concerned with Fallon's condition that the first thing she did was ask Jeff for help, and then call an ambulance. But she'd already admitted to running a cold bath, in which she submerged an unresponsive toddler before holding her and rocking her. This was all seemingly before she called for help. Either Kirsty wasn't that concerned with the child's well-being, or her concerns were more deeply invested elsewhere. Kirsty doesn't see what the detectives don't understand about her side of the story.
I don't understand where there would be a confusion about that.
Well, the confusion is the kid has injuries, severe injuries that she might not make it through the night, that we're saying just appeared out of nowhere. How is that not confusing?
No, that is extremely confusing, and the only thing that I could even think of is if she tripped walking with Harper on cement. That's it.
Those injuries?
Or minute, right? They're minute. Those are little.
No, the injuries she has are not little.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So her tripping and falling would not cause those injuries. Her skull is broken. Her skull is fractured.
I don't even understand.
Did Jeffrey do something?
Absolutely not.
Or I would have killed him.
So tell me how this happened.
Neither of us are violent people.
Until yesterday.
Basically, if you've got the kid, the reason I'm asking, from 6 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
The baby at 6 birthday, almost 24 hours ago, because we're almost working on 2 in the morning. A child with a fractured skull is not going to just make it through the day and then just decide by the end of the afternoon that she's sick.
Because you're saying during the whole day, she's doing fine, everything's great, nothing's going on. All of a sudden at dinner time, she starts acting weird.
That's what doesn't make sense to us. Because the fractures...
Her and Harper played in the room all day long. I have that in a text message.
Okay.
And that's exactly what I said. Yes, and I watched my son. I also have live footage in my home.
Okay. Do you have access to that?
I do.
Okay. What's it recorded on?
Wise.
Wise, okay, I don't know that one.
It's WYZE. The fact that under my watch, in my life, it would never happen.
So this Wise recording you have,
Yep.
is it through an app or is it actually hard recorded like a DVR or something?
It's through an app.
Through an app?
Yes.
Okay. How do we get access to that?
I have an SD card I can find for you probably. Like, in it, I can pull it out. It's basically the whole, let me see.
What you looking at?
I'm going back. What's today's date? The 9th, right?
It is now the 10th. Right now, as we speak, but yesterday was the 9th.
Kirsty searches her phone for the cloud-stored video feed from the camera system in her house. When detectives realize that she's pulling up video that could be used as evidence, they likely move over to monitor the situation to make sure nothing gets deleted. And nothing seems out of ordinary on the camera, but when Kirsty's phone dies, the detective leaves to get a charger for it.
A lot of people ask us what we feed our dog Ellie, and I'm very proud to say that she eats food from the farmer's dog. We've been feeding her farmer's dog almost for a year at this point. Farmer's dog is real, fresh, healthy food that's made in human-grade...
Oh my God, human grade. They make dog food out of human.
Let me get a tray, all right? We gotta keep that charged.
While the detective is out of the room, Kirsty appears to be nothing shy of defeated. It's clear the questioning is not going her way, and it seems like it's taking a toll on her. When the detective turns with the charger, Kirsty asserts that she needs to go soon because of her kids.
Is that the right one for you?
Yeah. Thanks.
Trying to over yourself here. You get charged up.
I gotta go soon because my kids.
While she's not under arrest, she has been read her rights and detained, which means she's not free to leave at this time. The detective will continue to let her think she's there. On her own free will for now, in order to keep Kirsty talking and let that phone charge. It's clear he thinks he's onto something.
Yeah. So, has she ever come to your house? Like, did you ever suspect it other than?
Like, I saw, you know, just random bruises on her legs. See, the thing about Harper is that, is exactly as I said. Harper would have them everywhere. If someone were to look, they'd be like, what? This kid is clumsy, you know what I mean?
I'm not worried about the ones on her legs or like on her elbows, because it happens.
And the head thing.
Well, that, and also she got bruises all in her abdomen where she bleeds.
How does that even happen?
Someone has to abuse that kid pretty hard.
That doesn't even make sense to me how that would even happen. Especially in the situation, like, first of all, she pretty much lives in my house. She doesn't sleep there, but she's there every single day. Never had any issues ever.
Fallon's mother claimed Kirsty watched the child for 3 days a week. At the start of the interview, Kirsty stated it was 3 to 4 days a week. Now she's upping the frequency to every day. I'm not sure what Kirsty hopes to accomplish by doing this. I'm not sure she knows either. But either way, it's probably not helping her case.
But my thing is, and I can look at you and you probably done this a million times or whatever, but I didn't touch her. I would never hurt her. Literally. I've given her, ask her mom, I should buy her a kitchen. I literally give her all Harper's clothes, all her hand-me-downs. I feed her, I bathe her every day. Her mom never has to do any of those things. I do all of it. Because I love her. So like, you telling me this is basically like you telling me that I'm almost like losing it, essentially, even though we're not going to claim that. You can check.
No, I am.
Kirsty has not been accused of any crimes so far, but since the start of the interview, she's been desperately hell-bent on convincing the detective that she's non-violent and would never hurt Fallon. Her constantly defending herself in this way is red flag city.
It's difficult, and I know sometimes it's easy just to lose your cool and things happen, and I get it. I just need to know.
But I would never lose my cool on that level. I would never lose my cool on that level. I don't even have that type of hatred in my heart.
I don't think it's a hatred thing. I think maybe things just get out of hand. Well,
I mean, literally, the only thing I could think of, and this is like far-fetched, but I know her.
Climate problems are increasing. Cold and snowstorms are becoming a problem. Don't worry, the portable kinetic molecular heater is here. The portable kinetic molecular heater is a NASA technology that has been used to protect.
When her father came and told me, unless they were, you know, just playing and her bird. Just not.